Hello and welcome to this edition of Diaspora Central. I am Gil Ingles, and with us today, ladies and gentlemen, in the studio, yes, he's a man that can hit the drums and he can vocally also exalt those calls that will make you dance. Yes, we talking about a vocalist drummer, TOSIN Aribisala, right here on Diaspora Central Spotlight. TOSIN, welcome.
Thank you very much.
How's it been, man?
It's been very great so far.
You know that you one of a very rare kind. Yeah? A drummer vocalist.
Well,
Yeah.
I try to make the two happen.
Indeed.
Hybrid.
Yeah. Now, you come from a generation of musicians already?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not professionally or actively into music,
Okay.
but in some capacity,
Yeah.
my folks were involved in music.
Got you.
Yeah. So my late dad, he loved music.
Got
he
you.
had a huge collection of music.
Yeah.
And he can play some rhythm on the
On the
hand
keys.
drums.
Oh, hand drums.
Hand
Okay.
drums and some keys too.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Because you play both. You play the drums and percussion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So now if from a qualification or a characterization from characterization purposes or from qualification purposes, what are you, a percussionist or a drummer?
I'll say drummer.
Drummer.
Yeah,
Okay.
because when you play the drum set, you're considered a drummer.
Yeah.
And but if you play other types of drums,
Yeah.
like the hand drums,
Just
talking
percussion.
drums,
Yeah.
djembe,
You're just a
regarded
percussionist.
as a percussion player.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I seen you play both in a way.
Exactly.
So it's
so
yeah.
um,
You dab a little bit
yeah.
on the other one on percussion also.
Yeah.
But you definitely call yourself a drummer.
a drummer.
Yeah. And what about vocals?
Vocals, yeah. I'm also a vocalist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Songwriter.
Songwriter. Yeah.
Composer in this
Composer,
case.
yeah.
Yeah, because you're not just, and you also produce, correct?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And
All
I
right.
arrange all the music that goes with the music.
Yeah.
The songs that are right.
Indeed, yeah, definitely production. Yeah, so today we're gonna have a conversation, man. We're gonna start on your inspirations and hopefully end on your aspirations. Yeah, can we do that?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, because this is Diaspora Central Spotlight, and individuals like you are individuals that actually generate what today is being qualified or being set as the culture of this diaspora where
That's right.
we live.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and get our conversation started. TOSIN Aribisala.
Yes.
Yeah, country of origin.
Nigeria.
Nigeria. What state?
Or your state.
Or your state?
Yes.
So that would make you a Igbo or a Yoruba.
Yes.
That would make you a Yoruba. Yeah. Now, both parents from the same
That's right.
ethnic group.
Exactly.
So you 100%.
100%. Yeah. From one source.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what, Ijabu?
Ibadan.
Ibadan.
Yes.
Okay, Ibadan. There you go. So eventually I'm going to get them all right. So the Ibadan. Yeah. Now, how long ago did you leave Nigeria?
I left Nigeria in 2001.
Yeah. Now, what was the primary reason for you to actually leave?
You know, let me take you back a little bit. See, when I was younger, much younger, I've always, when I read books about African history or Africans in America and all this slave trade and all that, there was a particular time that I came across. I remember the first time I came across the word diaspora. And and that related to all our brothers and sisters and forefathers who have been transported to the other side of the world. And then you watch on TV, you see the images of the so-called black Americans. That label that they are black Americans. They are Afro-Americans. They are African Americans. Different labels. And I was always intrigued by those images. Wow. And then, I could relate because of the skin color. I look at them like, oh, look at Michael Jackson.
When
his skin was still dark. Look at James Brown. Look at all these great people. And then my dad would tell me all these stories, Louis Armstrong, all these great people. And then he would tell me stories of folks in Cuba, in Brazil, in Latin America.
Right.
Yeah. And then later I discovered that some Nigerians in the modern history
Right.
of people
Right.
who moved to the U.S.,
Got you.
to the other parts of the world,
Yeah.
and they became part of the diaspora.
Right.
So I'm always intrigued and wonder that, these diaspora people,
Right.
these diaspora people, that, okay,
Yeah.
maybe one day I'll become a diaspora.
There you go.
too.
And now the diaspora is you.
It's me.
Indeed.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
represent that. So back in 2001,
Right.
I came to join
Yeah.
the rest of the crew.
There you go. And you became one of us.
Exactly.
Yeah, you became one of us. You became one of the diaspora.
Yeah.
Now, one of the very interesting things in our conversations that we like to do is actually go back really to the beginning.
Yeah.
And the beginning means really rolling it back. So of course, you come from a big family or a small family?
Big.
Big family.
Yeah.
Yeah. How big? How many siblings?
13 of us.
13 siblings. Yeah. Where do you fall in between them?
I fall on the 7. Is it 7?
Somewhere around the middle.
Somewhere around 7th,
Yeah.
9th. Yeah. I was
So you
do
need
some calculations.
So you needed to really bring yourself a level of attention to be able to get attention, right?
Exactly.
Now, out of all of them, are you the only one that became a showman?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So that kind of explains. So you're probably right in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, from your parents, and let's start with names, if you can give us name. What was Daddy's name?
His name was Ebenezer Abimbola Aribisala. EA. So everybody calls him EA.
EA.
Yeah.
and what about moms?
My mom. Tom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tom Aribisala.
Yeah. Now, so you coming from a family of 13.
Yeah.
And you're the only showman. As a kid, were you the one always making everybody else either laugh or dance or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I remember when I was in preschool, preschool, elementary, and all that.
Yeah.
I used to beat the table. My mom would tell me I used to beat on the table whenever one of my classmates was having a birthday celebration. Once the teacher announces that today is Kemi's birthday, then I beat on the table to represent some kind of entertainment for the birthday celebration.
Got you.
Yeah.
So you would compose the birthday celebration song.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, eventually, I mean, of course, you mentioned your mom already as noticing some of those hints in you. Exactly. Now, was she the only one that did? Were there any teachers or any professors that kind of started to influence you? Who else influenced you in a way?
Well, so since my teacher at that time, at that very early stage, noticed that, she told my mom about the unique qualities of our son, and said, you know, Tosin's a wonderful boy. I think you should get him into some kind of music lesson and all that. And then my dad noticed that as well and registered me in some kind of a music school in the area to take some lessons.
In a conservatory.
Yeah. So I started going like that, and then in high school, and then up to the time that I studied some music in college. Yeah, along with business management.
Got you. Now, throughout all this time, though, while you're still in Nigeria, so your primary interaction with music was just at school? Did you start getting involved in any bands, any churches?
Yeah. So the way our schools were set up, was like every school at the time had a choir.
Okay.
A school choir.
Okay.
So without anyone even, because when something is in you, there's always going to be a drive.
Indeed.
Whether somebody initiates it to you or not.
Right.
You will just see the picture or the activity going on, and you just be drawn to it naturally.
Indeed.
Yeah. So in my primary school, we had school choir. I was part of that.
Right.
I was playing the percussion. And then I got into secondary school, and we had a school choir as well. And I saw them practicing. I just went to them straight up. There was already a guy playing the drum. I said, "Can I join you guys?"
Yeah.
And he said, "Sure."
Now, at that point, you actually get on the drums.
Yeah, but Now, here's the thing.
Okay.
What differentiates that choir from a regular band setting was that all we had was traditional drums. So hand drum, local drum.
Right.
And I appreciate the fact that I was able to start off with that. Something that's really true to our African musical creation.
Identity,
Not some Western instruments at all.
Right.
We have keyboard, not just drum and voices.
Okay.
Yeah. So all natural.
Got you.
For us.
So your arrangements at that point, they basically being formulated on two instruments, which is either drum or percussion and vocals.
And vocals, exactly. And then at a point I joined the choir at the church, and the music director wouldn't allow me to even play the drum because he thought, he knew I could play the drums, but he thought me coming into this choir that they already had their own drummer would be a sort of competition. That, okay, Tosin's coming here and he wants to take over? No.
Right.
Okay, so just be in the bass section and sing.
There you go. So now at that point, though, at that point, I guess you're already a drummer. But let's kind of just roll back a little bit. At what point do you actually first sit down in a drum set and you identify yourself with that instrument?
It was a while back. See?
How old were you approximately?
I was about 9. So now, here's the thing. We've come a long way in our society. There's been a lot of evolution. Like I said, I started the choir and the schools only had traditional hand drums, nothing else. So in most churches as well, they had mainly traditional drums, no drum set. If they had to do any special occasion, they had to, rent some drums. And so my first encounter with that was when the drum set was rented. And I said, this is different. I need to learn how to play that too.
Okay.
So I was trying to advance, going from the traditional to this one. And this one requires more coordination.
Indeed.
You have two, you have to use all your four limbs.
Both feet. The four limbs is both hands, both feet. So and each one on its own independent move.
Exactly. So that was quite challenging at first, but I was determined to learn how to play it. So I discovered it then, and then I started taking lessons to be able to master the coordination for the drum set. Unlike the hand drum, all you use were just your hands.
Indeed.
So I overcame that, and there wasn't a lot of drum set around at the time. Eventually, more people started buying the drum set in their churches, in their bands. There were bands, even most of the national artists, then international artists in Nigeria, they even have drum sets in their bands. Like King Sunny Ade, Ebenezer Obey, all those guys, they didn't start off with drum sets. It was just local hand drums, talking drum.
Indeed.
Even, everything just started evolving.
Music started to modernize itself.
Modernization, of African music. So I was part of that whole transition.
So let's go ahead and take our first break and take a look at some images of you actually doing something, and we'll be right back. For those of you that just joined us, you're now tuned into Diaspora Central Spotlight, and our guest today is TOSIN Aribisala right here on Diaspora Central. We'll be right back.
Fọlẹ̀ ó fọwọ́ agbára gbé wa dìde, àwa sọ pé a ò rírú ẹ̀ rí, ayọ̀ rèé o, ire. Ọlọ́run gbógo fọlẹ̀ ó fọwọ́ agbára gbé wa dìde, àwa sọ pé a ò rírú ẹ̀ rí, ayọ̀ rèé o, ire. Ọ̀nà tọ́lọ́ gbà ṣòro láti ṣe iṣẹ́ rẹ̀, ọ̀nà rẹ̀ nìkan kò mọ̀, àwa máa rí ìdí ni. Aláìgbàgbọ́ wọn yóò ṣì
And we are back. For those of you that just joined us, you're now tuned into Diaspora Central Spotlight. Our guest today in the studio with us is TOSIN Aribisala. Yes, directly from, or originally from Nigeria. TOSIN, currently, where do you live? Where is home for you in America? California.
Yeah.
West Coast. You pretty much at this point being at every coast, huh?
Yeah. West Coast and in Northern California.
Yeah, Northern California.
Yeah, because West Coast is even split into two now.
Right.
Southern Cal,
Right.
Northern Cal.
Yeah, the place where it never rains.
Yeah.
They claim that it never
Yeah, they
rains in
claim
Northern
it.
California.
Mhm.
Yeah?
But earlier this year, we had a lot of rain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's something that place I don't think is built for that, right?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all.
The water doesn't percolate well. It just sits.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I even saw some vehicles submerged in water under the bridge.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
very strange.
Yeah, it is. But you fared out okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And everybody in the family also fared out okay?
Yeah.
Now you also have lived in the East Coast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What part?
Maryland.
Maryland.
Mhm.
Yeah. MD, DMV.
The DMV. Yeah. So Maryland, DC,
Yeah. Virginia. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So out of all the coasts that you've been in, which one is your favorite?
West Coast.
West Coast.
Yeah.
Yeah. You think that is a lot more culture in it? I thought you would have said probably East Coast, especially the DMV.
And I lived in New York too before I actually moved.
Then New York also is part of another one that has a lot of
Yeah, it's
culture.
got a lot of culture, diversity,
Yeah.
very conducive for African music to really grow. And, it's got a lot of admiration over there.
Indeed.
However, New York was just so congested.
Right.
Whether you're on the train, in the street, walking, or anything, and then the weather.
Yeah.
So, I'm an African man.
It's a brutal winter out
Very
there.
brutal winter.
Yes.
So I didn't grow up with that, and
Right.
I just don't think that I will ever get used to
Couldn't
that
adapt.
kind of
Huh?
weather. Yeah. So, but the West Coast has a
Yeah.
very moderate, balanced weather.
California.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Have you lived in Houston here in the Gulf region yet?
Not quite.
No?
I
Yeah.
visit from
You
time
visited.
to time,
Yeah.
and sometimes I spend,
A couple of weeks or
couple
so.
weeks here, but this year has been quite hot.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a hot summer, but we hoping that now the fall and the winter will probably be a lot better.
Yeah.
for us. Yeah. Now one of the things is that of course you currently here in Houston, and you're here in Houston for a reason too, right? You have something going on. Tell us a little bit about what you had going on. I know that there was already a show. You already had a show,
Yeah,
right?
I had a show.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about that effort.
Yeah. So I'm exploring this part of the country. I've heard so much about Houston with its new development. There was a particular year, I think it was 2017, that I came here, and someone told me that I don't think the kind of music you do will sell in Houston. I don't think much is happening in Houston.
Right.
And the person lived here before relocating, lived there for some years. So then, you take the word of the locals
Right.
more than anything else. So I said, is that so? Plus, I didn't really see much happening. And then I went to Dallas.
Okay.
I saw a lot happening in Dallas. I was considering, and then I heard a lot about Austin, Texas.
Okay.
The music scene there is more vibrant. Yeah, it's one of the major music scenes in the country for live music.
Yeah.
So I was considering that, and but lately I've been, from my exploration and talking to some guys, I've been coming across a lot of new developments in Houston in terms of live music, in terms of events, multicultural events.
Indeed.
That I believe, like the Reggae Fest. There was a Reggae Fest that took place here.
Yes.
I think it was in August.
Yeah.
I came around. My cousin was here to sell some of his merchandise.
Yeah.
So I came to assist him, and I saw a lot of things happening that was really promising.
Gotcha.
Yeah, okay, I think we can also set up something here and grow here. So plus, economically compared to
Right.
the West Coast,
Yeah.
it's way better.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's still low cost of living in a way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Indeed. Yeah. So now you're here, and definitely. I mean, I got to see you performing on Babatunde and Friends, actually, Village Square, right? And you did one of the performances, and you did a song that people were very familiarized with. Yeah. What was the title of the song?
Palava.
Yeah.
A song by the late Fela Kuti, the father of Afrobeat.
Right.
Yeah.
So you basically ended up taking Village Square into the Fela Kuti era, the Afrobeat.
Afrobeat.
Yeah. The Afrobeat, the true Afrobeat.
True Afrobeat.
Yeah. Is that where you characterize the style of music that you do, or you more of a world music guy?
I'll say more of world music guy, because if you come to my show thinking everything you're going to be hearing is Afrobeat, no, that wouldn't be the case.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so I try to cover different grounds because of my background as well.
Yeah.
Playing music with different people, listening to all kinds of music.
Indeed.
So I think in different dimensions.
Yeah.
I feel like, okay, let me create this to sound like funk. Let me create this, but still, retain that Afrobeat identity.
Right.
Even so, it's a fusion, basically, Afro fusion.
Yeah.
Or Afrobeat fusion, if
Indeed.
you want to call it that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's got a little bit of jazz here, a little bit of reggae here, a little bit of folk music.
Yeah.
Because that was all we did in the school choir that I was part of back
Yeah.
then, just folk music.
Initially.
Yeah.
Yeah, at your beginning.
Exactly.
So that became embedded in your DNA, in your musical DNA. Yeah. So now, of course, you went to college here in America, right? Yeah, and you mentioned before that you majored in business and music, or music and business, vice versa. So let's talk a little bit about the schools that you went to, right? So, and a little bit also about the cultural shock, really, aside from the weather, right? Culturally, how was that transition from Nigeria to America?
It wasn't that tough for me.
Okay.
Because I grew up in the city.
Okay.
In the city of Lagos. It's a cosmopolitan city.
Yeah.
Just like New York.
Right.
So you get a feel of different things happening.
Yeah.
Food, music, and so on and so on. So when I came to America and I played with some American musicians, when they call a tune, like a funk or R&B tune, or jazz tune, and I'm already playing it with them, and they were like, "Wait a minute, how did you know all these songs?"
Right.
Because they believe you're just coming from Africa. What do you guys have over there? What do you know over there?
Right.
But our radio stations at a point became saturated, especially in the major cities. Became saturated with American music,
Western music.
Yeah. It became a problem for some activists. Like, you can't just be bombarding our ears with all Western music. What about our own music?
Right.
Let our music sell too, especially to our young ones.
Indeed.
So, but that was like the initiation for me into a lot of American music that I got to know. So when I came here, I was able to blend in that regard. Even jazz, I was able to blend. Even though I had to actually practice more so I could blend more. We did some jazz in Nigeria, but not at the level that it was done here, because the main thing here, even the singing, the R&B. Guys sing R&B in Nigeria, but with Nigerian accents.
Right. Indeed. Indeed.
But when you come here and people sing R&B, you'll be like, yeah, this is the real R&B.
There you go. Yeah, that's the soul. Yeah, that's the soul of R&B. That's the real deal. That's the true DNA of rhythm and blues.
Exactly.
Right. The real blues live here.
You get it here from
the real blues live here. Indeed. So, as a musician, drummer, of course, the music community became probably the haven that received you primarily. Yeah. Now, did you find any challenges in there fitting in, even from the perspective of being from abroad, now in a different environment? Was it musically?
Okay. Before, I'll say one thing. I had a discussion with a brother in Dallas yesterday.
Okay.
He's from Nigeria, and we discussed our challenges here and how some of us are able to surmount those challenges based on attitude.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
So now, before I came to settle in the US, I had toured in Europe, toured in Central Africa, toured in Latin America, toured in America a little bit. So I have some perspectives
Gotcha.
of how things are done here professionally, because from one region to the other, if you practice one trade, for instance, let's say in Ghana, in Nigeria, and then you come to the US, it's not going to be exact same method or approach.
Right.
It's definitely going to be different.
Right.
So in Nigeria, if you call yourself a professional, but because of the culture, the way things are done out there, it's definitely going to be different here when you come here and call yourself a professional.
Right.
Are you a professional that shows up on time?
Indeed.
Or a professional that still has that African time in you?
That can be a thing. That can be a cultural change in itself. Indeed.
So, yes, you're a professional back home, but professional
here is a whole different level.
It's all different.
Right. Yeah. There are additional criteria in there that must be met.
Exactly.
Indeed.
Like throughout my performance experiences in Nigeria, there was never a time that I had to wear suit and tie for any performance.
Right.
Yes, we had some costumes that we had to wear and all that, but never suit and tie. And then you come here, some gigs may require that.
Indeed.
And you realize that, wait a minute.
Right. Yeah. That's the professional side of it.
Exactly. Especially if you are someone like me at a point who just had this tough mindset that I'm not gonna wear any Western outfit, any suit and tie. But sometimes you just need to be flexible.
There you go. Adjust to your position.
To your position.
So that you can be better at whatever position you're playing.
Yeah. So
Indeed.
my friend in Dallas was telling me how he works with some of our brothers who are new in the US and all that, and he says, okay, rehearsal is 12 o'clock and they're showing up at 1:30 or 1 o'clock. And I said, yeah, that's the danger right there. You don't want to work with such people.
That's a major danger. Yeah. Because you can lose your gig and the reputation then goes on.
Yeah. So
Indeed.
I learned. I remember one particular incident. I was in New York.
Yeah.
My initial years, I was in New York, and I was going to work on a music project with some guys. And they said, meet us at 3 o'clock.
Okay.
I got there at 3:05, and everybody was gone.
And you,
that was our meeting point.
There you go.
We're going to move from there to the studio.
Right.
So I got to the meeting point at 3:05, and I didn't.
Everybody was gone.
Yeah.
Right. So now you got to figure out where the studio is.
Yeah. I said, whoa, okay. That's number one, learning the hard way. And then number two, I had a gig. You know, there was a time that we didn't even have GPS.
Right.
Not even the
Garmin.
The one that you
Garmin.
So, exactly. So we didn't even have that at a point in 2001, 2002, 2003, nothing like that.
So you're still using maps?
Using
like
maps,
a regular map?
Maps, or even stopping by gas station to say,
ask questions.
Right. So that was what happened to me.
Yeah.
And I got late to the gig. So the bass player, he has worked with the Temptations, all these big people.
Right.
And he came out of the door,
out
of the venue as I was about to
load in.
To load in.
Yeah.
He said, hey, Tosin, I gave you the time to show up at certain time, and you are just getting here. Just imagine working with Stevie Wonder at the one of these big. He mentioned one of these big named venues. He said, imagine working with this and that. Are you going to show up at this time? I said, no. He said, okay, we will work with you in the future. But for this gig, don't load in, just go home.
Yeah.
Much older man.
Yeah.
I said, okay. I was really disappointed in myself.
Right.
Like, oh.
Yeah.
So learning the hard way.
Indeed.
So
no, and it is and it is necessary, because I'll be very honest with you, and that's on that I will even say shout out especially at SED. That's one of the cultures that we're starting to break at SED.
Yeah.
It's really starting things on time.
Yeah.
At SED Institute, because it is necessary. right? It's like set the time, make sure that everybody understands the time, and then start the time and set an ending time. And then afterwards, everybody can be relaxed. Because there are people who actually show up really on time.
Oh, yes.
To do it on time. And then go on about the rest of their day or their evening, right? And blocking them up. So professionalism was the first challenge and one of the major challenges. And looks like you adapted well, because today I gave you what I consider the African schedule. Right. I've scheduled the thing is scheduled for one time, but I'll tell you much earlier because I already know that it's gonna show up somewhere in that window in between. But you showed up on time. Yeah. That's a good thing. That's really a good thing. Yes. I mean, especially in this radio business, because I mean, here in this radio business, you go by the clock.
Exactly.
Right. If the guest doesn't show up on time, then you have white noise around that time. Yeah. All right. So one of the major challenges, but we need to take another quick break and take a look at some more images of you doing what you really do well, which is compose, play music, anything that has to do with TOSIN Aribisala. Right here on the Diaspora Central Spotlight. We'll be right back.
Ṣóun ló ń gbèsè fún wa, ṣóun ló ń bàṣírí wa, ṣóun ló ń dáríjì wa o, ṣóun ló ń ṣẹ̀rí ìbùkún lé wa lórí. Ọ̀rẹ́ tí a kò rí torí wa tó mọ̀ wá o, dákun wá pèsè fún wa, káwa má mọ̀ṣì ayé o, dákun wá dàbòbò wa o, káwa má sọ́fà láyé o.
And we are back. For those of you that just joined us, you're now tuned into the Diaspora Central Spotlight, and our guest is TOSIN Aribisala. TOSIN.
Yeah.
We talked challenges in adapting to the new culture and everything else.
That's right.
Yeah. But as a composer, a musician, a vocalist, a drummer, an instrumentalist, right? You get a chance to work in all of those aspects.
That's right.
Right? Which one is your favorite? Which one is home for your soul? When you're doing it, you feel like, oh, this is definitely me at 100%. Because I know some of us like, oh, you're an instrumentalist, okay. Yeah, to make money, you play as an instrumentalist, right? Yeah. But to really satisfy your soul, you'd rather be doing something else that may be related to music still. But so in your case, which one of those aspects is the one that really grabs as a hold on your soul, as a hold on you?
I didn't start off doing all of that at once. So I've moved step by step, transition, evolved, and then when I started out as a drummer, playing the drums, I had this restlessness in my mind that, look, I have this brain that can adapt to other things in the music realm. And I've always looked at myself, back then as somebody who can facilitate, who can bring things into fruition beyond just playing the drum.
Right.
So writing was one avenue for me, creating, composing. So I'll say that the writing aspect is key for me, because that way I get to reflect on what's on my mind.
Gotcha.
And let people see what my state of mind is about a particular situation, about a particular scenario, about what's going on around the world, because we have a voice. Okay. We need to let our voice be heard. Yeah. We need to let our thoughts be perceived by other people. Indeed. And songwriting is a vehicle, that one of the vehicles by which we can use to convey the thoughts to the people out there who can hear us.
Indeed.
And then we can make impact from that.
Indeed.
So there's a lot of great songwriters, singers out there who have written some great songs that have impacted a lot of us.
Mm-hmm.
Like John Lennon. I was thinking about the situation in the Middle East currently, and how everybody is taking different stances, and how people are pointing fingers at this one, pointing fingers at that one. That, okay, this were the first settlers. No, this when the first they came there. Okay, was the Balfour Declaration, this and that.
Yeah.
And when I thought about all those things, one thing that came to my mind, we always talk about anthemic songs, iconic songs, that we can never forget.
Indeed.
And every artist, every deep songwriter always has that one song that speaks to our situation.
Yeah, indeed.
So I remember John Lennon. Imagine. Imagine there was no country or religion to kill or die for. We all just want to live in peace.
Right.
And that is exactly what I'm thinking when I'm thinking of my song. And I have a song that sort of like that too. It's called Jaye Simi.
Okay.
It's a Yoruba song. The title is in Yoruba.
Okay.
But the lyrics are in English. So Jaye Simi simply means let the world breathe. Let the world have some rest. Let the world settle.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So talking about all the illusion, the confusion, the deception, the lies that we are surrounded by, misinformation, info war, psychological war, and all these things that we are surrounded by, and how everybody, one way or the other, contributed to what we are facing now, and how we can all own up and be like, hey, like Mahatma Gandhi says that, let the change begin.
Right.
With you.
Indeed.
So we all have some responsibility.
Indeed. Indeed.
So
Yo, definitely.
Playing the blame game.
Right. Blaming each other.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I don't know even if you're aware, right here, this is, if this is not part of the Mahatma Gandhi's district, we probably borderline is like right one street above us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the district. He actually has a district here in Houston.
Wonderful.
Yeah, with his statue right out there. So
I think I actually saw a statue at one of the museums before.
Yeah, they actually have one. They have one. I know that they have a plaque right on Hillcroft, I believe, on Hillcroft and 59, right at that intersection right there. I know that there's a sign that definitely mentions that. Yeah, welcome to the Mahatma Gandhi district or something like that. Yeah, it's a man of peace. And timeless songs.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that has always been sort of like your vein.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Now, of course, as someone that appreciates Afrobeat, did you at any point, I guess, in your life at all get a chance to have any interactions with Fela Kuti or anyone that played with Fela Kuti?
No. I didn't have that interaction or encounter with Fela Kuti.
Gotcha.
I wish I did. But, Fela back then, the way it was, he was a fearful guy.
Right.
Like smoking weed, and most parents don't want their kids around that entity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You couldn't follow that.
Yeah. The man who married 27 wives. And
Ooh, really?
Yeah. In one day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
In one day?
In one day, he had the ceremony, big ceremony.
27 wives.
Yeah.
You giving us details that I don't think most of us know. Hold on, wait a second here.
So it shocked the world.
Yeah.
It shocked the whole society. Like, what kind of crazy man?
That should be in the Guinness Book of Records, right?
It wasn't like, okay, married one night and then had another one.
No, he 27 in one day.
In one day.
And how many children came out of that marriage? Or the 27 marriages, I should say.
That man was a mystery. And it shocked everyone by just having 6 children.
Wow.
Yes.
So now, were the 6 children by 6 of the different wives, or were the 6 children all by one wife only?
Okay, let me say.
Or maybe 2.
No, here's the thing. I'll say he had 28 wives.
28 wives. So
because he had the very first wife.
Okay.
His first marriage.
Yeah.
To one woman that he met in college in London, and
Right.
and
They had his
three
college
children.
sweetheart. So she's got 3.
3 children together. And then after that phase, when he evolved into this new fella, the born again fella,
Right.
born
The
again
star.
in another realm,
Yeah. New dimension.
New dimension.
Yeah.
He now had this 27.
That's the iconic fella
The
right
iconic
there.
fella. Yeah, the controversial fella.
Right.
With the 27 wives. So he left the whole conventional lifestyle, small nuclear family, wife, mommy and daddy and children.
Yeah. He went into 27.
27.
One
And
day.
One day. And surprisingly, a lot of people will think that, man, this man's going to have children everywhere.
Right.
So he had some sense that he doesn't want to have too many children. He doesn't want to have all these kids everywhere.
Yeah.
So only 3
More children.
3 more from 3 of those 27 women.
So 24 of them were married to him.
No child.
No receipts.
No receipt. So nothing to inherit. No family war.
Right.
Which child is gonna inherit this
Right.
or take that? So that limited all of that.
Yeah.
The estate for the estate.
Indeed.
Yeah. So and of course there will be jealousy.
I
among
mean, if you
them,
even if he was to go 27 children, that's a lot of children
A
already
lot,
to
a
deal
lot.
with, right?
Uh-huh.
I mean, can you imagine? Oh gracious! I guess now whoever marries 27 wives or 29 or 30 wives in the same day, he better get them all pregnant in the same year too, so that he can have 30 children.
Yeah.
All in the same year.
Yeah.
Man, I never knew that. I'm wondering if that's that at some point that should have been. Now I'm curious to know. I guess what's the highest amount of wives that a man has married before, because that should be part of the Guinness Book of Records.
Oh yes.
Yeah, indeed, Fela Kuti.
Because most people that we've heard who practice polygamy, they didn't just marry. Even the one with 3, 4, 5
Right.
wives, most of them didn't marry all the 3 in one
Right,
day.
right. Because I mean, even from from the tradition, from the African tradition of polygamy,
Yeah.
normally the first wife will help choose the second. The first and the second will help choose the third, and then the first, the second, and third will help and consecutively that way, right? So I guess in America that's what they sort of call sister wives, right? Where for the guys that do polygamy in America, right? So these wives then become almost like sisters. I think now they even have television shows about it.
Yeah,
They show
yeah.
that kind
I've
of
seen
lifestyle,
some, yeah.
right? It's kind of interesting how at one point things that used to be shine upon as so forbidden or so
In
not
America.
in the Western world today are becoming like this, I guess, acquired taste. I don't know, for lack of better words.
But I think it's always been part of the Western, old Western culture.
just
Not
a taboo, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, some of those things, as we all know, I mean, they did, if they existed culturally, right, and Africa was the birthbed of the world. I mean, those things had to travel with people to all places where they went, and eventually they come to show.
Come to show.
Yeah.
Even in biblical era, there was polygamy.
Right.
From Solomon to Abraham to Isaac, all these people, they practice polygamy and some other figures in the Bible.
Right.
And some people argue that, you know what, Christians today are actually not practicing Christianity the right way because they stick to monogamy. And you know that if you really want to obey what the Bible says.
So there's some controversy there too.
Yeah. I've had some arguments over that.
Right.
You know, there was a preacher that was preaching one time. He didn't think of it that way, but he was just saying that God blessed Jacob with 2 wives and 12 children.
Right.
And people were like, see? 2 wives? God himself blessed him with 2
Right.
wives.
See, it's kind of funny. And how about you? Do you have family already? Do you have a family yet?
Yeah.
Wife and children?
Yeah.
Yeah. So one wife, I'm assuming.
One.
Yeah. What's her name?
Cindy.
All right. And how many children?
Just 2.
2 children. Okay.
Yeah.
What's their name?
Muiwa.
Muiwa.
And Maya.
And Maya.
Yeah.
All right. No, that's a good thing. So eventually, one thing that we know for sure, we don't think we're gonna see a TOSIN 30 wife wedding one day. No. Not on that fella vibe.
Not on that fella
Kuti vibe.
I don't have the resources.
Which is quite true, because in actually, even religiously, right, you can marry as many wives as you can take care of.
Yeah.
That's biblically, or I guess biblically, that's what it actually says.
Yes.
Right? And I'm kind of like, I read that a while ago, so I'm even trying to remember now if it was the Bible or the Quran, but I know that one of them specifically states that, right, as many wives as you are able to afford, right, to take care of them equally.
Yeah.
The same, right.
And see, in Nigeria, where I grew up, for instance,
Yeah.
I grew up around that situation. I have a lot of family friends
Right.
who were from that kind of family setup.
Yeah.
More than one wife situation, you know, step siblings
Right.
scenario, which is my case.
Yeah.
In my case, you know, step siblings, that's what gave birth to all the 13 children. So, you would never, like you said, like, you know, like what the Bible says, that as long as you can take care of them and all that,
Right.
you don't see anyone having more than one wife who
Right.
doesn't have the means.
Right.
If that person is having more than one, that means he's a man of means.
Right.
And women too, they wouldn't even try to attach to you if you
Right.
not
If
of
you didn't have
means.
those means, right.
Yeah, to take care of them.
Indeed.
So most of these folks from these polygamous homes are from big families,
Right.
big homes, and
Right.
things like that.
Yeah.
So I have friends, a lot of friends like that, from that kind of home
Right.
too.
Yeah. But they coming from deep pockets, though.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
From capable people. So let's go ahead and take ourselves another break and take a look at some more images of TOSIN doing what he does best, which is perform. And maybe we should probably even try to take a look at maybe one of your performances. One of your live performances. So we'll be right back. For those of you that just joined us, you are now tuned into Diaspora Central Spotlight, and our guest today is TOSIN Aribisala. Yes, right here, the drummer vocalist in the building. We'll be right back. And we are back. For those of you that just joined us, you're now tuned into the Diaspora Central Spotlight. Yes, TOSIN Aribisala is in the building. Drummer and vocalist, composer, maestro. Yeah, a very rare individual. Yeah, and set of skills too. Very few singing drummers, right? It takes a lot of practice to be able to do that. Right? Because it's like, and I forgot.
Coordination, focus,
Right.
discipline.
Yeah.
Sometimes, have to memorize the lyrics. Sometimes when it's too much for me to memorize, I just have a sheet of paper next to the drum, and just,
so you can at least look and remember what it is. But see the coordination though, hand, feet, boom, because you got your kick drum going, boom, 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 then you got your snare, boom, ba, boom, ba, boom, ba, boom, ba, and your hi-hat, and then you got your foot opening and closing the hi-hat. Oh man, this is a lot going on muscle memory becomes really important. How much rehearsing time does one need to put in to become a real good drummer, just to get the muscle memory, in your opinion?
It takes a lot of time and patience, because you spend a lot of lonely time developing those skills. So I'll say minimum of 3 hours a day.
3 hours a day.
Yeah.
Minimum.
Minimum.
This is not like, oh, just 3 hours a day. No, minimum of 3 hours a day. Yeah. You and the instrument must become one.
That's right.
Yeah.
There was a time my sister used to tell me, because we lived together in Maryland at some point, and she'd be like, Tosin, no woman is going to want to marry you. You're not going to have a girlfriend. No woman is going to have time for you.
Yeah.
For this, all the stuff that you're doing.
Right.
Like, what is this?
And then Cindy shows up.
Yeah. Because then she sees me practicing all the time.
Yeah.
And she's like, look, are you ever going to settle down?
Right.
For something else.
Other than a pair of sticks and a drum.
And drum and books.
A drum kit.
And pieces of papers, writing all the time and mapping out my musical strategies and things like that.
It's great. Yeah. Now, as everyone, we all had inspirations, right? And some musical inspirations.
Yeah.
In your case, who were your musical inspirations?
Fela Kuti was one of them. Manu Dibango, late Manu Dibango from Cameroon.
Oh yeah, Cameroon. Yeah.
Tony Allen, the great drummer, that formulated that Afrobeat sound with Fela Kuti.
Yeah.
Definitely one of them. Sting.
Yeah. You definitely a world music vein guy.
Sting is one of them. I don't know if he has done so yet or if he's yet to. He has a performer he's supposed to perform in Houston.
Okay.
Somewhere in Houston.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'll be able to catch him, but one of these days.
But definitely one of your influences.
Exactly, one of my influences.
Yeah.
And then Bob Marley.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I used to listen to Bob Marley, say from 3 a.m. to about 5 or 6 a.m. in the morning.
Wow.
Because that was the time that I spent studying.
Got you. So while you were studying,
Bob Marley is just playing in the background.
Yeah.
It's a natural mystic flowing in the air. You know, imagine listening to natural mystic at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
There's a mysterious sound too. When everywhere's so dark.
It's interesting. It's interesting because I think that every child of, I think probably the 70s and 80s, it's so influenced by Bob Marley somewhere, somehow. Yeah, because even though they consider us to be the hip-hop generation, right? We still had a heavy influence of reggae.
That's right.
And believe it or not, I guess the golden era of reggae was really the 60s, late 60s, right around the hippie era, right? So now your aspirations, things that you really feel that, okay, Tosin, to feel accomplished, fully accomplished, these are some of the things that musically he needs to do. Yeah. Let's manifest some of those.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
We can. Yes, we can. I still want to go back into academia. Yeah. And teach.
There you go.
I love to teach.
Yeah.
That's how you pass, one of the ways by which you can pass your knowledge,
to others, right?
You know, down to generations,
right?
I do some sort of mentoring now with some young musicians in Nigeria.
Okay,
we meet on WhatsApp. We have a WhatsApp group where we meet. So I'm always writing.
Yeah,
they ask me to write articles, write this and that. So I write all the time, send it to them. We hold discussions.
Got you.
Like that.
What's the name? What's the name of that program?
Grooveyard Mentorship.
Okay, Grooveyard.
Yeah.
Mentorship. Okay, this is a program that, in all honesty, we probably need to talk offline about that more. But that's something that we need to ensure that we bring it to SED's attention, right? Yeah. SED Institute, because this should be the type of a program that we could probably even use at that level, right? Yeah. Because you're still sharing, and my grandmother used to say that knowledge without being shared is just plain information.
That's right.
Right. It only becomes really knowledge once it is shared.
Yeah.
Right. Then it becomes knowledge, because if just you know and you don't share with anyone, this is just information sitting in your head. Right. Yeah. Wisdom, it doesn't. Wisdom, I guess, teaches us the sharing becomes more important than keeping it in your head.
Very important, because I believe in nation building, and when you're building a nation, all things are to be considered.
Right.
And my part must be considered, your part must be considered. We all don't have equal knowledge, we all don't have equal experiences.
Right.
There's diversity of knowledge and experiences.
Right.
And if we want to build a great society, you bring yours, I bring my way, all contribute it together.
Indeed.
So I believe that my own way of being part of nation building or nations building, because the way things are right now, we are all part of globalization.
Yeah, the globalization is that's a fact. That's a fact.
I remember when I first discovered email in either year 1999 or 2000. My brother told me about it. He said, you can send email now to someone in New York and receive response the same day. I said, really?
Right.
And then I told my dad. And my dad said one thing.
Right.
When he heard that, he said, are you sure you sent email now to someone in New York and you can get a response? If the person sees it, respond, and you can download it and see. I said, yes. So my dad shook his head and said, they are turning the world into a global village.
There you go.
And that was the first time I heard that line.
That's wisdom speaking right there.
Global village. So wow, so far yet so close.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with this whole idea of globalization in mind, and now we have the internet.
Yeah.
You can mentor
video chat, man. Just think about that. Like you sitting there and even task sharing, right? You both working on the same something.
Yeah.
Remotely, virtually.
That's right.
Where both of you may not even be where the initial or the thing that you're working on is, right? It's a global village.
Yeah. In that village, a lot of us are villagers.
Right.
Yeah, so we're going back.
We all are.
Yeah, back full circle.
Yes.
So it's just bigger now, bigger
there you
village.
Go. Yes.
Yeah, because a lot of people are involved, a lot of tribes are involved. So that information the knowledge and information I'm sharing can reach wider participants.
Indeed.
Yeah. So that's how we grow, and we leave our legacy behind, whether we like it or not.
Indeed.
So that's why we cannot be stingy.
Indeed, yeah. Especially when it comes to information. Sharing is important. Yes, sharing is important.
So the insecure will be left behind.
That's how I see it. Indeed. And that's how the world moves.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's gonna be all about legacies. And to build legacies, one, you gotta be secure in your belief.
Yeah.
And you gotta be willing to share your belief. And strong enough to allow also adjustment to it, to efficiently be able to implement it, whatever it may be, right? And that makes strong legacies. So one of the aspirations is to actually get back to academia, to be able to teach, right? And now, any other aspirations?
Other aspirations would be to create some more documentaries about how I come about my music and the impact that I want to make with it. I have a lot of ideas, of compositions.
There you go.
I want to form, and it's not just performance. I want to tell a story.
Tell the story.
Yeah, I want it to mean something.
These are all. They said as a shared journey program that actually does that, where you can actually now there's a sessions program too, and sessions is actually a program that allows you to go through that process from your first composition to where you're trying to go, and you tell that story in between as you actually are doing some of those compositions in the process. We'll definitely offline have a lot of talk. You're already familiarized with the SED Institute, right? Which is a great facility right here in Houston, Texas. For those of you that never heard of it before, you can always visit sedinstitute.org, which is the website, and you'll be able to take a look at it. you had the honor of performing there.
Yeah.
And we had the honor of watching you perform there. Very good performance. Yeah, Palava.
Palava. Yeah.
A lot of people don't know what Palava is.
Yeah.
So break it down for our viewers what Palava is.
So Palava is an English word.
Mm-hmm.
Palaver, which means like little talks, chats here and there. But the way fella used it in his music, in that context, the story he was telling was more of trouble.
Right.
Yeah. Or argument. Or quarrel between two people.
Right.
So in the story, he was talking about somebody who just came out of prison. Of course, he has no job to go to.
Right.
Nothing. So he was just roaming about the street. And then he was arrested by the police officer, saying that I charged you for wandering. So, and the man is like, look, I don't have a job. That's why I'm wandering. If you don't leave me alone, there's going to be trouble.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And talked about a man who got married.
Yeah.
And went to the bank, borrowed money to have a lavish wedding. And the bank manager came and said, Mister, now you need to pay.
Right. Palava.
You know?
Yeah.
Or the tenant who overstayed and wouldn't pay.
Yeah, indeed.
The landlord.
Yeah.
Now, palava.
Palava.
Like, hey, trouble.
Indeed. Yeah. Now, the state of world music in America, in the diaspora, right? What is your take on it? Where do you think the world music right now stands, and what do you think that you guys can probably do to either improve, what the community can do to improve the state of world music?
World music in America is on a different path or different phase now. There was a time, mid-90s up until the early 2000s, world music was huge.
Right.
And one of the things that helped to boost world music's presence in America was because we had not really entered the internet age. And the age where you can share files.
Right.
You know, where information and files, everything is just so liquid.
Right.
So before, you have to have physical devices to get things going. And that sort of, that era, you know, we had a lot of record labels.
Yes.
A lot of, you know, small record labels here and there that were really thriving.
Right.
You know, brick and mortar stores.
Exactly.
Where you can buy and sell music.
Right.
Physical CDs,
yes.
albums, Tower Records.
Right.
A lot of them.
Yeah.
And so that really helped. So it was kind of new. You know, no internet. So it's not like, let me go and Google and check this out. Let me go and go to the YouTube and check this out. No, you have to see it physically.
Right.
So a lot of these record labels, indie record labels, were able to bring in, we're not talking of Warner Bros. Now or Columbia Records. Right. No. So they were able to bring in artists from Mali, from Senegal, from Ghana, from Nigeria, from different places. So they were able to showcase them to the world. Yeah. You know, so Graceland, in fact, even in the 80s, remember Graceland with Paul Simon, with the Black Man Basil, Lady Smith, all these people. Yes. So
there was late 80s right there.
Yeah. So it was really thriving. Even the band Toto, they did a song called Africa. Right. So everybody was having that, you know, relationship with world music, one way or the other. Babatunji Olatunji was a great African Nigerian drummer who lived in the United States for a long time and influenced a lot of people, started a drum circle thing. Yeah. So it was really booming then, before the digital age. And we got into the mid-2000s and things started changing. Right. We now started seeing MP3s.
Right. File sharing.
Yeah, file sharing. Yeah. MySpace.com came, and we were able to see, and the Facebook came, we were able to see old friends, like, oh, you know, rediscovering ourselves again in a new format. So that just sort of washed away certain things. Now, the brick and mortar stores started crumbling,
Right.
folding up.
Yeah.
The indie record label couldn't bear it anymore.
Right.
Some couldn't adapt to the change. There's this record label called Ropadope.
Okay.
I was signed to Ropadope record label at one point. Antibalas was signed to them.
Yeah.
Even jazz bassists like Christian McBride.
Yes.
He was signed to Ropadope record label. They were doing fine. Put out your CD, record, and
Yeah.
everything. And then it got to a point they couldn't even do it. Economically, it was challenging.
Yeah.
So they had to find a way to adapt. Some of them didn't even bother to adapt. They just
Just folded.
folded up.
Folded.
Yeah. So now, with this digitization of music, you don't even have to really know a lot of about music.
Right.
You don't even really have to have that background, the kind of background that I had.
Right.
Like playing drum, learning how to play guitar, learning how to play drums,
Right.
going through all that channel.
The process. Yeah.
You know, with technology messed us up to a degree.
Yes.
You know.
Yes. Well,
So-
it's the one thing that I say, right? It's for those that actually understand and want to use it for the right purpose,
yeah.
it helped them. It's helping them.
Yeah.
But for those who just want to get by, because
Yeah.
for those of us who are still building legacy, technology is definitely great because it's facilitating certain things.
That's right.
Yeah, content creators such as yourself today, for instance, now you have additional streams of income that can come even just by doing what you back in the past couldn't do, right? Because in the past you would have to probably, if you came up and you said, you know what, I need to do a sound library, you would have to go get all this thing done and then send it to a label. Then the label, like, well, what is a sound library? Okay, let's figure it out. Yeah, they may even shelve it.
Yes.
Right? Never use it. You today can come up with a sound library, pick up, put it online. People start buying those sounds.
Yeah.
Those libraries, sounds out of their library, and you can make an additional stream of income. So there are benefits, but you are correct.
Yeah, because look
Yes.
at auto-tune, for instance.
Yes.
So all these guys who cannot even sing
Right.
go into the studio, and it becomes really
Right.
tough to really get them to sing on key, to
Right.
sing very well.
Right.
So you use auto-tune to
To
manipulate.
adjust it, right.
Yeah, make adjustments to their
Yeah.
voice. But then when you see them live, you'll be like, wait a minute.
Yeah. It's
Can't
not
even
the same.
sing. It's not the same.
Right. But do you believe that live musicianship is coming back, though?
It's gradually coming back.
Yeah.
Because, see, now we have Afrobeats. All these artists coming from Nigeria,
Yeah.
Ghana, other African countries. Before, you have to be able to see, we had King Sunny Ade, Fela Kuti, all these people, they were able to sing, they were able to perform live
Right.
with live band.
Right.
All these boys didn't really groom their talent in a band setting.
Musicianship.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in a band setting or in any kind of live music creation setting. All they did was, I have some talent. I know how to sing. I know how to write some words or something, or they get a songwriter.
Yeah.
And then they look for a guy who has a laptop
Right.
who can make some beats.
Right. Electronically.
And electronically. And they just sing, and then they tweak it somehow with
Right.
the technology that we have now with mixing tools. And to them, they feel like, okay, this is good enough.
Yeah.
And they put it out there. And then, because we have social media,
Yes.
you put it out there on SoundCloud or something, and some people listen to it and they're like, oh, I like it. They start sharing easily.
Wow.
And then it goes viral.
Yeah.
So you that didn't think before that you could actually sell a 50 capacity
Right.
club
Yeah.
venue, you realize that online you
You-
have
you-
10,000 people streaming your music.
Right.
10,000 streams.
Right.
And then you feel like you are now a superstar.
Yeah.
And then you're out there calling yourself an artist.
Right.
So, but then, who cares?
Right.
The people who want to sell music
Right.
or promoters, they care about numbers.
Yes.
Like, if he's got this much followers,
Right.
then let's try him out at this venue.
Right.
And then boom, because
Yeah.
somebody has heard about you from here, from there,
Right.
they all come to the venue.
Indeed.
So and then when you try it out like that, it works. That's why nowadays you don't see most of these young guys out there. They don't struggle for years paying dues before
Right.
they make it.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
Right.
That's fine.
Right.
kudos to them.
Right.
But that's where we are now.
Yeah.
So that big jump from 2 years of trying music, 3 years, and then boom, you're selling out a 5,000 capacity stadium and all that.
Yeah.
Look, that has surpassed anything that world music
used to do.
Right.
Back
Quite
in
true.
the day.
Quite true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now it sort of pushed world music as we knew it to the back seat.
Yeah.
And now they are taking the front stage.
Yeah.
So that's the challenge that we have.
Okay.
So, but what we can do to move world music forward is that, one, we would not relent. We will continue to push it, whether we have 100 people capacity venue or 5,000 or whatever.
Right.
Or even if it's just about having a collaboration.
Indeed.
In this generation, we just have to be open-minded.
Right.
Like, let's collaborate.
Yeah.
Let's see what we can bring together. Music is fluid.
Yes.
So for those who are really, really smart enough to understand that,
Indeed.
culturally,
Indeed.
like, okay, let's form this idea together. Okay, you do your thing. Don't look at them as if, oh, I've paid the dues and
Right.
you are just coming up.
Yeah.
No. In life, we all meet at one junction,
Indeed.
whether we like it or not.
Indeed.
So if we are open-minded enough, when we meet at that junction,
Yeah.
we just have to have some kind of harmony
Indeed.
to make things work.
There you
And
go.
we'll all succeed together. Yeah,
And-
everybody goes home laughing.
And that is key. That is
Yeah.
really definitely key.
Yeah.
And another thing now, any shout outs that you would like to give to anyone, shout outs and thank yous.
Yeah, I'd like
Yeah.
to say a big thank you to everyone. I'll tell you something. A tree does not make a forest. Yeah. So a forest is a combination of trees.
Right.
Yeah. And one tree breeds into another tree
Right.
to make life happen.
Indeed.
So big shout out to all the people that I've met along the way, or I've come in contact with up until where I am today, be it young or old, those who have means, those who don't have means, just a word of encouragement alone that some people have given me from time to time, and those who have shown me different things, knowledge, inspiration, ideas, money to support the cause and all that. Big shout, I can't name everyone completely, but there's been a lot of people like that in my life.
Indeed.
And I appreciate that.
Indeed.
So even the people that I'm yet to meet, because life goes on.
Yes.
And we're going to keep meeting and
Yes.
evolving.
Indeed.
And new path opening. Just like how I met you.
Evolution. Yes.
I met you, 3 days ago.
Yes.
And here we are today.
Indeed.
So,
Indeed.
yeah, I never dreamed of this a week ago.
And that's what it is. I always tell people that we are nothing but a portal of energy.
Yeah.
So, and our simple and plain job is to ensure that we make that energy positive and beneficial to those around us, right? Once that energy is no longer beneficial, then there's really no need to be, right? And I thank you for taking our invitation and coming into Diaspora Central and sharing this moment with us. And I want you to go and take this with you. This is home for you. So at any point in time, if you have anything that you believe that Diaspora Central can do for you, don't hesitate to contact us and let us know. We'll definitely try to accommodate you the best way possible. And TOSIN Aribisala, it's been a great pleasure sharing these hours with you, sir.
Cool. It's been real.
Now, how many body of works do you have out there that people can actually get?
I've put out about 4 albums so far.
Yeah, name all 4 of them.
The first one was What's on Your Mind, released in 2007. And then Drum Monologue, 2008. Life Begins in 2013.
Yeah.
Africa Rising in 2018.
Right.
And then 2023, I released Alternative.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're actually looking at 5 bodies of work out there, right? And this is to say that we are talking about a seasoned composer, a seasoned performer, a seasoned artist. So in order for people to support you, where would they find you on social media?
Instagram, TOSIN Arib, TOSINARIB. I'm really not much on Twitter.
Yeah. And what about, do you have a website also that they can visit?
TOSIN Aribisala.com.
Okay, TOSIN Aribisala.com. Right. So the same way you do see it crawling right on the ticker, that's the same way that you would go to meet the man. And remember, for shows, live shows, and everything else, if you can find it on his website, you can always visit our website right here at diasporacentral.net. If it is information that we can provide it to you, you know that if we hear, we will definitely share with you. TOSIN, it's been a great pleasure, and a takeaway from this conversation is one tree does not make a forest.
That's right.
So let's figure out ways of collaborating and making that forest the greatest forest that we can ever make. Because as the diaspora, we can only be great if we're able to collaborate.
That's right.
Until next time, peace.